we will start with a project that we actually took a look at last time that has since made an interesting pivot. They started as the self-driving boats, and now they are HODL in the ocean. Andrew, you want to screen share?
All right, let's do it.
So some context for this one, as you're pulling it up. This company was the self-driving boat, and as the name implies, they were building self-driving boats. And the question that we had for them last time was, well, you have to figure out a really concrete use case for this that's not kind of, that will actually get traction, you know, on the order of, you know, days or weeks, months, as opposed to like, you know, years of noodling around. And they ended up on this.
Can you see my screen just fine?
Yep.
All right, so I think last time we reviewed it, like Rishi said, there was, I remember there being a similar text message feed down the middle of the page explaining what they did, and we thought that was pretty memorable. And their pivot now is HODL in the ocean, solar powered GPUs in international waters. So the first thing that comes to mind when I read this is, why do I need a GPU that's solar powered and which is also in the ocean? So let's see if they answer my question as I scroll down here.
The answer is yes, they do answer. They attempt to answer that question.
So here are the perks: solar energy, liquid cooling, stick them in the North Pole. All right. So GPUs are used for a few things. Like the ones I can think of are obvious ones is crypto mining, or like we said here, training like deep learning models. And today your options are you go to Amazon EC2 or one of those similar services, and you kind of rent out some GPUs, and then you pay them on a per hour or per minute, per second, whatever it is basis. The other thing that you would do is you would buy like a rack of them. And if you're doing like production level stuff, you bring it home and then, or set up server and then you train it there. So the alternative now looks like you can do it in the ocean, which is very different. But the question is from the consumer's perspective, why is this better than any of those other options right now? So let's see if they help answer that question. Well, at the very least, they have a picture of the Doge pillow.
Would you look at that? We have our special guest has actually arrived.
Well, that's exciting. I very much concur with everything Andrew said. And exactly, yeah, Rishi, if you could send me that link you're about to send me, that'd be great. You can just continue straight ahead.
All right. Well, actually, it's good chance for me to get some of Daniel's thoughts here too. Welcome, Daniel. I don't think they answered that second question. Okay. Actually, no, they kind of did with this thing right here. So they spent some years working in AI, and they thought that the CO2 production from training large models and energy consumption, whatever, is bad. So this is a more sustainable way of doing.
What is the actual atmospheric impact though of GPU models? Is this really the problem?
That's a great question.
Maybe of course the answer is that it's not, but the people think it is the problem. So who cares what the underlying number is? So, okay. So you can do it in a more sustainable way by doing it on international waters. And Elon, I see. Okay. Yeah. Seems interesting.
Yeah, I would say that there's some interesting bits here, but I think the first few questions that come to mind, you could probably do a little bit better job of highlighting that in the hero, in the tagline here, because the idea just, there's a few ways going about it, right? One way is you kind of just throw it out there and you're like, yeah, we're doing solar powered GPUs in the ocean, and the user's like, what? And then scrolls down and does all that other stuff. But it's also another thing to maybe like be more direct. Like sustainability is something that you're heavily leaning on that maybe you want to mention here. The environmental impact, if it's a real problem, maybe throw in some data backing that up. Just basically some more things to like stay what the problem is and have that person be like, yeah, like I recognize that this is a problem without needing to go like all the way down in order to find that out. But it's definitely an interesting idea, one that you would not say, like one that you would definitely remember. So I think you have that going for you.
I think that's right.
I think one reaction I think you're going to get to this idea is it's pretty out there, obviously, both literally and figuratively. And I think the format of the landing page, like while I like the idea for a certain type of product, the like text message, it sort of feels very friendly. I actually think you want to go for a design that injects a little bit more seriousness into it. Curious if you guys disagree with that, but I think given sort of the wildness of what you're doing, I think you need to have an air of a little bit more seriousness to make people think that this is actually going to become a reality.
Right. I think that's right. There's, of course, I think it's interesting. Doge and Elon really, in abstract, has created or popularized the kind of nihilism meme format where things are kind of relevant because they're funny / ironic. And a lot of founders in the crypto land, I think, are taking this to new stratospheric heights. It'll be interesting if this bleeds into real companies. I haven't seen like a real company really take that concept to the extreme. But I agree that seriousness is probably useful. The exciting thing that's happening in the kind of ESG world that you could obviously capitalize on is, there's dollars that need to be deployed to ESG things. No one really knows what that means, but I think if you look the shape and part of it, you look at funding, irrespective of whether you have an underlying economic, unit economics that makes sense. It was kind of like, SoftBank came up and just had to fund basically new forms of mobility and logistics, regardless of whether they made economic sense. And I think ESG is a different variant of that. So you would have to look more seriously, though. I think if you wanted to attract that type of attention. Cool.
Yeah, I guess one last thing I'll say about this is to directly answer the question that y'all posed to us, which is how does this pivot feel like? What is the biggest risk? It would be to how much of a problem this is to the buyers. Because I can feel this slicing a few ways. One, they might not care as much about the sustainability aspect of how much their ML models are consuming, and this won't even be an option for them. And the other thing is for the ones who are environmentally conscious, who do care about sustainability, how much better are you guys than the other options? For example, like you mentioned here, that Google is carbon neutral and how they buy back their CO2. And the other thing would be, is this the most impactful thing they could be doing to stop their emissions? Or are there other things that are consuming more that they would want to focus on first? So the question there really boils down to, for the risk for this pivot, is how big of a problem this is actually for your customers. So that's kind of what I would take away from this, at least. So, all right. Shall we move on to the next one?
Let's do it.